Done.
You can revise budget receipt and then the capital receipt. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, you can scroll down. Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now just quickly read this table, then we'll start. Okay. Better it's like if you can read it from here, read it from here, other from your notebook.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's just start with the next topic, which is let's just do this topic. I'll ask Vanisha to note it down. Okay. Now One is over here, you read about one thing. One is the direct tax and the indirect tax. Okay, so let's just do what is the direct tax and what are the indirect tax. Direct taxes are those taxes whose final burden lies on the person that makes the payment to the government. Okay, so over here, for example, you went for the shopping, right? Not shopping. Basically, you are earning, right? You joined a job, right? A company. Now, after that, basically, what is happening? You are getting a salary, right? So tell me, you have to pay income tax? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So of course, that income tax is based on your salary, right? Depending on your salary, you will have to pay the income tax, right? So can you
Yes, ma'am.
tell me that, ma'am, please pay my income tax on behalf of me? You can do this?
No.
No, right? So this is basically the direct tax. Direct tax means the first line you will hear, direct taxes are those taxes whose final burden lies on the individual person, right? So this is what direct tax look like, right? So second, and who makes the payment to the government? Like, you will be the one who will be making payment to the taxes, because your tax is basically based on your income. So I won't pay that. Your parents won't be able to pay that. Next is when the incidence and the impact. Incidence means you are earning. Impact is now you have to pay the tax, right? Lie on the same person. It is called direct tax. Clear? Because you are earning, that's why you are paying. I am not earning, that's why I am not paying. So incidence and the impact of the tax lies on the same person. Second, the impact of direct taxation cannot be shifted. You cannot shift it to somebody else. These taxes are progressive in nature. Why? Because when you will pay the tax, only then the road construction and some other hospital construction, school construction, all this will be done. Like the public who is paying tax, because of that only government is doing all the construction work, all the developmental thing in the country, right? So these are progressive in nature. Now, these tax do not affect the market price. For example, if you are paying 1,000 rupees tax, that doesn't mean that once you will purchase sugar, that will be for 100 rupees. No. Your tax is not going to, like how much someone will be paying 1,000, someone will be paying 2,000, someone will be paying 3,000, right? So because of your tax, it will not affect the market price of any product. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Example, income tax, wealth tax, corporation tax, so many taxes are there, house tax and all that. So all those are basically the thing that are the direct tax. Okay. Now indirect tax. Now what are the indirect tax? So indirect taxes are those taxes which are paid to the government by one person, but their burden is borne by another person. So over here, it's like, for example, I went to shopping mall, right? Over there, I ordered burger, right? This burger I ate, but payment was done from my father, right? He did the payment. So incidence was with me, but who paid? The burden lied on my father. For example, I did shopping, and of course, there also in the total bill, you have to pay some taxes, right? So this is what. So indirect taxes are those taxes which are paid by to the government by one person, but their burden is borne by another person, right? So when the incidence and the impact of tax lie on different person, then it is called indirect tax, right? I am eating, but burden somebody else is boring, right? The impact of indirect taxation can be shifted to other person. I can shift. I can also pay it, not an issue, but I can shift it, right? These taxes are generally regressive in nature. Why? Because, for example, this is a burger for 10 rupees, right? Now, after taxation of 10 rupees, now burger is for 20 rupees. So this is regressive in nature, right? Because it is directly and positively. Positive effect means it increases the market price of a product. Clear? Example, GST, right? Whatever you are doing, you have to pay GST and all this, right? So this is what indirect tax look like. Okay. So you will first write direct tax, and then you will write all the things about direct tax and then indirect tax. Okay.
Ma'am, could you explain the indirect tax with GST as an example? How one person is making the payment and how somebody else is
GST?
bearing it?
Yeah. GST is basically the service tax on the products, right? For example, you purchase a washing machine, right? On that product also you have to pay GST, right? So this is basically that washing machine. That doesn't mean that only you have to pay, right? Your father can also pay that, right? Your mother can also pay that, right? For example, you eat burger. Over there also burger, you have to pay GST. You bought some chips. Over there also you have to pay chips. You can ask somebody else to pay your bill, right? You can shift that burden to somebody else, right? For example, we
Yes,
went
ma'am.
for party. Over there you paid all the bill. I also ate, but you paid all the bills. That means I shifted my tax on you, right? So that's
Okay,
why
ma'am.
it is an indirect tax that you can shift it. But direct tax is basically the tax which you have to fill no matter what. Okay? Because that is a
Okay,
deduction
ma'am.
from your salary itself, right?
Yes, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Good evening, Lanisha.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Okay, so basically we did one topic, direct and indirect taxes, right? Just leave few lines for direct tax and start copying indirect tax. I'll explain you again. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
5, 6 lines for direct tax and then start writing the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 lines. 7 line you can because you have to write the heading as well.
Okay, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Vanisha, you are also done?
Ma'am, just a second.
Okay.
Ma'am, done.
Okay. Now, basically just giving a recap of what we did, right? So, direct tax. So, ma'am, what are direct tax? Direct taxes are those taxes whose final burden falls on the person who make the payment to the government, right? For example, I am earning, my salary is 1 lakh rupees, right? From that, I will pay some tax to the government, right? So, this is what basically whatever I am earning and I am paying the tax, right? Nobody else can do that on my base. Like for my thing, you cannot pay tax on my behalf. My parents cannot do that, right? So direct taxes are those taxes whose final burden falls on the person who make the payment to the government, right? And when the incidence and impact of the tax lie on the same person, like the one who is doing, that will be the one person who will be paying the tax, right? Impact of direct taxation cannot be shifted. They are progressive in nature. When you will pay tax like the income tax, corporate tax, wealth tax, only then government will do progression like the development of roads, hospitals, schools, and so many things, right? See, these taxes do not affect the market price. Whatever tax you are paying to the government, because of that, the market price won't be affecting, right? That doesn't mean if you are paying 1,000 rupees tax, then sugar price will rise or sugar price will fall. No. Example this. And in opposite to indirect tax are those tax which are paid to the government by one person, but their burden is borne by the other person. Like for example, I went to Burger King, right? Over here, I bought one burger. Over there also, you have to pay some GST, some taxes. For example, I went to mall. From there, I purchased some products. For that also, I have to pay some taxes, right? So it's like I am doing shopping, but my father can pay my bill. My friends can pay my bill, right? I can ask you to pay bill on my behalf, right? The tax you can pay on my behalf. I can shift that, right? So they are basically the indirect tax. The impact of tax like you can shift. It's not compulsory every time I'll ask you. You can shift, but for direct tax you cannot shift at any cost. They are regressive in nature, right? Regressive means, for example, the burger was for 10 rupees. Now, after adding 10 rupees taxes, the burger is for 20 rupees. So it is making the product costlier, right? Positive increase means increasing in price. So this is what example GST. Got the difference between indirect tax and direct tax? Vanisha?
ma'am.
Okay. Now over here, now when like according to the table, we are learning everything, right? So let's just go to table. So for this, what we did, direct tax and indirect tax is clear. Now this one, right? Non-tax revenue. So tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Let's just do this. Non-tax receipt and this. So over here, non-tax receipts are those receipts which are received from sources other than taxes like fees and all. So over here, non-tax means, for example, you are paying fees, you are paying fine to the government. They are the receipt, means government is receiving money, but apart from the taxes, paying fines, paying e-cheats, paying fees, it's not a part of your scale, not a part of your tax, right? So they are non-tax receipt. Example, fees, right? So one of the main source of non-tax revenue of the government is fees charged by the government. It is imposed by the government to cover the cost of service provided by it. For example, over here, you are paying fees. For example, licensing fees. There are some people who are taking your licensing test Of course, they are doing service. Government have to pay them the salary. So if you will not pay fees to the government for their services, then government won't be able to pay them salaries. So this is what fees. So fees is a compulsory payment. Fees provide specific benefit to the payer. Fees is not a payment for commercial services, right? For it's not basically for the profit motive. It's basically whatever services you are getting, for that only you are paying some fees. License and the permit fee. It is payment made to the government or to seek permission for something. License fees paid to get license for driving license or the vehicle, permission for keeping a gun, etc. Right? Example no need to write, but it's basically what is licensing fees? It's basically when you are license means you are asking for a permission from government. There also, if government is giving you permission, first of all they will check it whether you are capable of that thing or not. The services are required, then only they will give you the thing. Then special assessment. It is a payment which is made by the owner of those properties whose value have appreciated due to development activities in the government. Right? Till here you will write special assessment. And for example, I bought this property that was for 100 rupees. But once the school got developed, hospital got developed, our railway station got developed, airport got developed, automatically the price increased. Now it is for 500 rupees. Right? So this is special assessment basis. So over there earlier for 100 rupees I was paying house taxes, but now for 500 rupees I have to pay extra taxes, right? Like extra fees to the government. Now inshits refers to the income of government which acquires out of property which do not have a legal hire, right? So over here, for example, this is my property, right? What happened? There are some cases like I own that property, but now somewhere I got to know that that is basically legally it's not my property. Then automatically government will take that property. That is basically over here also government can sell it, government can do anything. So that also comes under government is receiving money, but apart from the taxes. Clear? So you will write non-tax, then you will write till here. Some of the non-tax receipt are as follows. Fees till here you will write. Then license till here, special assessment till here, and insurance. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Done, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.